Hello, and welcome to today's NASC Preferred Supplier webinar, verifying origin claims for fish oils, why it's essential, and how to do it. I'm Bill Parker with NASC, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. I am happy to introduce Svein Erik Haugmo. He's from Norway and is the CEO and founder of Orivo. He is a dedicated entrepreneur with a passion for science. He holds a Master of Science in Biochemistry, and before starting Orivo in 2014, he has a broad experience from the analytical laboratory industry in Scandinavia. I'd also like to introduce Spencer Macintyre. He is originally from New Zealand and is now living in Norway. Spencer brings a wealth of experience in the veterinary software industry as a global implementation specialist and business developer for EasyVet. He led successful implementations for some of the largest veterinary hospitals across the United States and facilitated software solutions for veterinary groups and universities nationwide. Now serving as the sales director of North America for Orivo, Spencer is focused on driving transparency and trust in supplements with origin verification. Outside of his professional role, Spencer enjoys traveling, watching rugby and football, and exploring the outdoors with his 9-month-old Bichon Havanese, Douglas. And with that, I am happy to turn it over to Svein Erik and Spencer, and thank you very much.
Thank you for the introduction, Bill, and thanks for the invitation. As Bill just mentioned, my name's Spencer Macintyre, and I'm the sales director for North America here at Orivo. Orivo is short for Origin Verification of Omega-3s, and that's pretty spot on for what we're going to be discussing with you today. But before that, I just wanted to introduce Orivo, and as Bill just mentioned before as well, introduce our co-founder and CEO, Svein Erik. Svein Erik is a molecular biochemist, and as Bill mentioned, back in 2014, founded Orivo with our other co-founder, Erik, who is also a chemist as well. Orivo is an independent third-party origin verification company with a particular focus on dietary supplements, but we also work in seafood, pet food, and feed ingredients. We use test-based authentication in advanced laboratory analysis, and we help honest and responsible companies increase their sales. Today, we've got some really exciting things to discuss with you. Starting out, I'm going to hand over to Svein Erik to discuss the market situation and our findings on origin label compliance with a particular focus on wild Alaskan salmon oil. Next, he will go through the background testing technologies and definitions. He will then hand back over to me, and I'll take us through how these findings affect the industry, both at a pet parent or consumer level, and then also at the brand or industry level as well. And then I'll sum up with some suggested solution on how you can be compliant with your origin claims. Now, handing back over to Svein Erik to discuss the market situations and findings.
Thank you, Spencer. As you said, I'm going to start off talking a bit about the market situation and some interesting findings we have done here in Orivo over the last couple of years. As you mentioned, my name is Svein Erik Haugmo, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Orivo. I will focus on the most popular category within fish oils for pets, namely the wild Alaskan salmon oil products. I think all of you know that the supply-demand situation for this category is imbalanced. The demand is far higher than the supply. But to put some numbers to it to confirm this imbalance, I asked one of the important suppliers within this category, and according to BioOriginal here, one of the significant suppliers, the supply has been quite stable since 2021, at least not increased. However, their sales of fish oils to the pet space has increased tenfold since 2021, meaning their offerings include a lot more than wild Alaskan salmon oils now. So we were therefore encouraged by honest players like BioOriginal to smell check if any or all of the wild Alaskan salmon oil brands actually were selling pure products in the marketplace as claimed. So we did, And this is what we found. As you see here, we tested 15 different good-selling wild Alaskan salmon oils for pets in the on Amazon in the US. We bought these products and tested them May last year, and the results, they were quite shocking. Over 80% of these brands were non-compliant with the pure wild Alaskan salmon oil label claim. This is, of course, not very good news for the industry, and I'm sure some of you were not aware of this. And that is exactly why NASC invited us to talk to you, because they think you should be aware. The background for our testing and how we define a non-compliant label claim, I will touch into quite soon. But first, I just wanted to assure you that this situation is not totally unique within the supplement space. We have done similar smell checkings in the human space over the years. This one back in 2016 in the US and EU. This one over to China, Southeast Asia in 2021. And then a recent one earlier this year, where we tested 39 products, our biggest screening so far. And we covered a lot of categories all over the world. So as you see, the trend is clear. There are non-compliant products in all segments all over the world. And since being among pet industry friends, I also wanted to share this from 2021 on pet food kibbles. I will not go deeper into this segment today, but please reach out to Spencer or me after the webinar, and we will be more than happy to tell more about the projects we are offering, or the services we are offering in the pet kibble space. How solid and trustworthy is actually this testing technology, and how do we actually define a non-compliant origin label claim? I will start with the latter topic, how to define a label claim, or how do we pick products? How do we define a pure wild Alaskan label claim, and why do we find it non-compliant when we test it, or if it's non-compliant? So we look at the front label, obviously first. That's the most important. We make sure that the product name includes wild Alaskan salmon oil, and it's not connected with words such as blend, formula, mix, or similar. Rather, connected with like pure wild Alaskan salmon, or 100% wild Alaskan salmon, or similar. Because if it says it's a blend, a formula, or mix, then it's an indication that it's not pure. But all the products we test, we make sure they don't include these things, and no other species origins mentioned on the front label at all. And then over to the back and the side panel of the products we pick. We first look at the ingredient list under the supplement facts and make sure that they are not mentioning other species and/or origins than the wild Alaskan salmon. Also, no other species and/or origins included in the other ingredients claim, and no other seal or logo or graphical element or text indicating other species or origins. Basically, we make sure that the label is free of anything else indicating that this is a pure wild Alaskan salmon, a indisputable crystal clear origin claim on the label. And I have to assure you that all the 15 tested products in the screening we mentioned first did meet these criteria, and meaning that nothing on the label indicated that these were not pure wild Alaskan salmon oils. And as you recall, over 80% of these did not meet this claim. And that brings me over to my biggest passion, the testing technology. So bear with me while I dig into that. I will try to keep it on not too deep level, but I have to share to you that together with a team of Scandinavian R&D experts, we have spent 3 decades developing a revolutionary fingerprinting technology based on NMR. NMR is short for nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. And this technology is basically the same as the MRI testing as you do when you go to the doctor. But instead of scanning your shoulder or your knee when you go to the doctor, we scan the fat molecule. And there are over 20 scientific papers published on the topic of scanning fat, marine fat with NMR. This is superior to the standard traditional methodology within the omega-3 space, which is gas chromatography, which is short for that is GC. Why is it superior? Because with GC, you chop off all the fatty acids of the triglyceride or the other backbone the fatty acids are positioned in. And then you count how many EPAs, how many DHA, and how many of all the other fatty acids. So since the technology chops this off, you don't actually know if that EPA comes from a wild Alaskan salmon or a cod or a sardine or a pollock or whatever. So it's possible to mix different species to mimic the EPA DHA fatty acid profile of wild Alaskan salmon. However, NMR, we look at the intact fat molecule. We don't chop off anything. We look at the molecule as it is. It's a so-called non-destructive technology. And since the fat of an organism develops uniquely for each species in each environment, NMR has shown ideal to identify various fat categories. So as said, over 20 scientific papers published on the topic. So I hope you see that this is a well-proven technology for omega-3 category fingerprinting. Then I just wanted to briefly mention the technology we use for species verification in pet food kibbles and mention that, among others, this has been developed together with the renowned University of Cornell in the US and others. So, but we will, as mentioned, I will not dig deeper into the kibble part. I just want to sum up this slide mentioning that our NMR fingerprinting technology is being endorsed by the leading global industry associations such as GOED, which is the human equivalent to NASC, IFO, which is an international, very important trade associations for feed ingredients. And we are also very excited to share that the US Pharmacopoeia is currently establishing NMR as the reference technology for salmon oil detection. And in Europe and the EU, the sister organization of USP, the EU Pharmacopoeia, they are already using NMR as a reference technology for salmon oil, krill oil, and cod liver oils. And then, of course, last but not least, we are a preferred supplier of our technology and services as a preferred supplier NASC member. Okay. So I hope you are with me when I'm saying that NMR is the basis and a good basis for our testing programs. And now over to what the testing program is based out of. Because product logos like this one, which is another increasingly popular pet supplement category, we always follow this testing routine. The sample is scanned with, yes, as you have just learned, NMR. That scan takes less than an hour. The raw data from the scan is converted into so-called chemical fingerprints and matched with our reference database. And finally, the origin is determined. If it's a match, in this case, it is then verified. This is a pure Atlantic salmon from North America. If it's a no match, it might be that we don't know what it is if it doesn't match with anything else in the reference database, but we know then at least that it's not what is claimed on the label. And that's not good. And then, of course, I guess you wonder, how do we build the reference? And the testing routine is the same. It's just that we don't use unknown samples. We use known reference samples from suppliers around the world. that we trust, and then we build the reference, for instance, for wild Alaskan salmon oil, for pure Atlantic salmon, for North America, and so on. So we have covered the most important categories within the omega-3 space. And a reference fingerprint of wild Alaskan salmon oil looks like this. This is 50 reference samples put on top of each other. As you see, it's not totally a straight line. Yeah, we are talking about biology here, but scientifically, this is a really confident spectrum and reference. And then when we analyze a unknown sample, represented as the black line here, for a compliant sample, it aligns very well with the reference spectrum. And a non-compliant sample will not do that. You might, at first glance, think that, oh, this is a good match. But if you see this peak, and this peak, these are way off. And keep in mind, this is just one of many sections of the raw data. The raw data consists of 130,000 data points. And it's many of these sections that I show here that our algorithms use as basis to say if this sample is a match with the reference or not. Okay, I think I've digged deep enough. I can go on, of course, with this, but I hope at least this was useful and confident technology input. I think it's time to move over to something even more interesting, is how is actually these findings and this non-compliance actually affecting the industry. And with that, I will hand the microphone back over to Spencer.
Thanks a lot, Svein Erik. So yeah, now I'm going to dig into how such findings affect the industry, both at the pet parent or consumer level, and then also at the industry or brand level. But let's start there with the looking at regulatory risks. And in preparation for this meeting, we connected with Bill and the NASC team to discuss the different regulatory risks out there. And these are some of the ones that were brought to our attention. Starting with the FDA, they're mostly concerned about potency, the amount of omega-3 EPA or DHA in a product. They're also really interested in food safety, such as the presence of heavy metals or pesticides. And so far, they haven't been concerned about origin claims. So we sort of see that as a low to no regulatory risk at present. Next, on the FTC, they are concerned about truthful and not misleading labeling. However, they've usually been targeting larger companies to be able to make an impact. And so far, there hasn't been any known cases in the pet supplement space. So this is a low regulatory risk at present. And then last, you've got class action lawsuits. No one really knows when these will come along. Again, here, this is typically something that would target a larger company, but as the industry continues to grow, so will the risks. And so you might be thinking, all in all, there isn't that much risk. And when NASC invited us to host this webinar, they did that because they wanted to be early to be able to keep the people ahead of potential risks that might be in the future. Next, if we shift our attention to the consumer or the pet parent in this scenario, looking at this report here, and I think a thing that we all understand is that consumers find transparency to be really critical when they're selecting products, and building trust and transparency is a key challenge and a purchase barrier for consumer brands today. And it's a given fact that pet parents are paying a premium for certain omega-3 categories, such as the wild Alaskan salmon oil. And I bet a lot of people purchasing those products where it appears to be pure wild Alaskan salmon oil don't expect that it would contain other sources of omega-3. Next, I'm going to provide a suggested solution on how you can be compliant on origin claims. And we thought at the start would look at some of the brands that we're already working with and that are leading this forward in the industry. So we're already working with some major players in this space. like Vital Pet Life, Natural Dog Company, and we're currently in discussions with lots of other brands and suppliers out there at varying stages. On the supplier side of things, we work with Biooriginal, Nutrimar, Landers, and Fiordo Austral. However, as Svein Erik mentioned at the start of this presentation, sometimes supply and demand cannot be in balance. And you might be asking, how can you offer a blended product but still be compliant on origin claims? Someone that we think has done a really good job in this area is Vital Pet Life with their salmon oil product. They became increasingly aware of the challenges in the supply chain and that they needed to change the formula from a pure wild Alaskan salmon product to a wild Alaskan / Atlantic salmon blend. And at the time, they wanted to do this in an honest and transparent way with customers and decided to join on board with the Orivo Verified program, as you can see by the logo on their bottle. And the way that this Orivo logo works is you'll notice that there's a small test number at the bottom of each Orivo logo. This is a concept that we've done with a lot of customers in the human space, where us as a third party, we verify that product and provide a test number that links back to the check your product here section under the Orivo website. And that means that a pet parent can actually have the product in their hand, put that test number in, and they can see the product that they've got and also the batch numbers that we've verified on our side, so they can be confident that that product has been checked. Now, before we sum up, we just wanted to put out there, as an industry, we need to decide how to act. And I've got a picture here of a bottle of wine, and you might be asking why a bottle of wine, but this is more just to get you thinking about, say, for example, the winemakers in Napa Valley where this bottle is from. And if you think that they would accept that their bottle might contain 50% Argentinian Merlot or 50% Chilean Pinot Noir, for example, I don't think they would. You might think that it's a bit of a far-fetched comparison to compare wine with the pet supplement industry, which is true. But at the end of the day, we always need to remember that consumers have opinions, and to reduce business risk, it can be really wise to be as transparent as possible with your label claims on your label. And if you're for more of you industry players out there, if you want to act transparently, we have a tool for it. We call it evidence-based transparency. Cool, that's all from us. Now we're going to hand back over to Bill Parker. You'll see that we've got our contact information there. So if you've got any questions afterwards, you can feel free to email or call Svein Erik or myself anytime. And we'll pass over to Bill for Q&A.
Are you able to share what samples were tested from Amazon?
No.
And I'm assuming this is just that Amazon and products purchased from Amazon in general.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. It was products purchased from Amazon, but we are not able to share the name of the tested products.
Very good. Another question coming up. Is your verification program mainly for consumer brands or also for suppliers?
I can take that one. So yeah, our verification program can be used both for suppliers and brands. We actually think it works really well when it's both the supplier and the brand is involved, because that way we can actually verify the product at every step of the supply chain. It can make the supplier confident because they know that the product that they're supplying to the brand has been third-party verified. And then also the brand knows that their product has also been verified by us. For example, we do mystery shopping along with doing samples on each of their batches, but we do mystery shopping. We will literally purchase that product and then test that back on our side. And there are some financial benefits if both the supplier and the brand are both Orivo verified, because it creates some efficiencies for us to not have to check things as many times compared to a brand that might not be supplied from a verified supplier.
Next question. If a lab does not have an NMR available, nor can budget for it, what technique would or could be used?
I can take that one. Well, as of now, we haven't found any technology as powerful as NMR. As I explained, it's a non-destructive technology. There are other non-destructive technologies, but not that goes that deep into the molecules and give that detailed information as NMR does. So that's so far we haven't found anything that can do exactly that. We have found a technology more expensive that can solve the same problem, and I guess that doesn't answer the question. But the routine is actually that there are a lot of NMR laboratories, core facilities around the world, and we part of the verification programs we offer is a seamless solution of sample shipment to your nearest NMR lab.
This person actually had a follow-up question, and then I'll move to the question after it. Would profiling fatty acids help at all?
In many cases, yes, it would, if you expand it from the EPA DHA, because EPA DHA is quite easy to mimic if you just blend the different sources. But if you have the full fatty acid profile, you can have more. That's a good indication this is authentic or not. But that is also possible to mimic. You can actually get a very because the fatty acid profile, that's the USP. They are working with this, the pharmacopoeia for salmon oil, for instance. There are big intervals. You can say that a wild Alaskan salmon oil can have EPA levels from, I don't know exact, but as an example, from 6 to 12, and the DHA's level from 6 to 12. And when you consider all these big intervals per fatty acid, then it's hard to be very confident on using the fatty acid profile. But as an indication, definitely. And we have a lot of really fraudulent products that has where the EPA DHA profile is totally off, and then you basically don't need to run the NMR. You know that this is a fake product.
Next question, kind of backs on the one you just answered. Do you have any insight into what level or percentage of fish oil in the marketplace is adulterated?
We have to refer to our screenings, and when you say fish oil, then we refer to as a single origin or named species, such as krill oil, cod liver oil, salmon oil, algal oil, seal oil. I know seal oil is not totally allowed in the US, but in China it's a very popular category. So when checking these categories, we find fraud levels or non-compliance levels, as we have shared with you today, and that's somewhere between 30 to 50%. But yeah.
Next question. If you find that a product is not in compliance, what is the next step for the product? Are there any legal issues for the brand in marketing a fraudulent product, fines to the company, etc.?
I don't know, Spencer. If you have, you need to refer to what you shared, and as he shared, it's not likely that any regulatory authority would do anything immediately. But there are ongoing trials, as some of you know, in the pet supplement space, where there is, I guess it's defined as a class action lawsuit against some major players in the pet supplement space. So you are risking these kind of actions if you are non-compliant with this.
Thank you. How big is your database of verified source samples?
Well, we have for many years now shared that we have over 10,000 reference samples in our database, and I got corrected by my laboratory manager the other day because it's close to 20,000 samples in our database now.
Okay. If your verification is per batch with a specific number, then packaging would have to be changed with each batch as well, right?
Maybe you can take that, Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, and so the way that it works is the test number that we allocate is relates back to the product SKU for the brand. And they can actually keep that test number the same, but it's what we do is we essentially the brand will send us that one product from that batch. We can then test that on our side, and then we once it's verified, we add that to the list inside of our website. So they don't actually need to change the labeling or the artwork each time.
Next question. Fish oils vary in fatty acid content in the same species supply depending on process and harvest. Have you also checked this? Have you checked the levels and types of stabilization products to prevent rancidity?
First of all, rancidity does not affect the NMR scan. So the 130,000 data points, they are the same, even though it's rancid or not. Secondly, I think it's a supplementary or complementary answer to this fatty acid profile question earlier, if fatty acid profiling can be used as authentication. Because as this question points out, yes, fatty acid levels vary during like interseasonal, or intraseasonal. During the season, it could be high in EPA early in the season and lower in EPA late in the season, and between seasons it varies. So this is actually a good argument for using NMR because the NMR fingerprint is more consistent. It actually is not very affected by the variation in the fatty acid levels, and that's why we maintain our reference fingerprint with fresh samples from each season for all the reference categories we cover in our database.
Are there factors that, or what are some of the factors that environmentally that might affect your references, such as water temperature or things of that nature? Are there things that can affect those references?
Should have my CTO here to answer that more thoroughly. But in general, we can see like the feed has a great impact. What is the fish does the fish eat? And when it's a wild fishery, it eats whatever it's surrounded by, and it's different. The food they eat is different compared to geographic origin. When we see on farmed species like farmed salmon oil, we see a great difference in the feed regime. Still, it's totally different from a wild salmon, but we see differences. And for comparison, we also work within seafood, as Spencer said, and the so-called organic raised farmed salmon has a very different feed regime compared to a conventional farmed raised salmon. And that we actually utilize, and with another technology, not the NMR technology, but another one, we see that we can actually detect if a fish fillet is organically based on organically raised salmon or not. So I would say feed. That was a very long answer to a very good question. Feed, very important. Environmental conditions such as temperature and current strength and things like that, less important.
Thank you. How do you feel about the use of the words formula or blend in a description?
How do I feel that? Well, personally, probably doesn't matter too much, but how we define that, for instance, if we did the smell checking as we have done, and we found a product that said wild Alaskan salmon oil formula, our wild Alaskan salmon oil blend, we will definitely not define this as a pure wild Alaskan salmon product. And if we found that this product did not match with the wild Alaskan salmon category, we would definitely not say that this is a non-compliant product, because it actually states it's a formula. It's a formula containing wild Alaskan salmon oil. And then we would look at the back side of the label, and if they're also indicate that there are not wild Alaskan salmon oil mainly purely here, there are maybe other species or just claiming salmon oil, then definitely that would not be classified as a pure wild Alaskan salmon oil product in the first place by us, and hence not classified as non-compliant if it didn't match the reference.
Do you see the imbalance of the supply and demand maintaining status quo for the foreseeable future, or any factors that might affect it going back to a more of an equilibrium?
The supply has been stable over many years, so there are not and this is a wild fishery, so the supply as long as it's maintained sustainably, which it is. I'm not a biologist, but I envision it's going to be stable. The demand, I hope you agree with me, that will only increase, but we hope that the industry starts to act more transparent, and that we have some high-end niche products consisting of pure wild Alaskan salmon oil, but other categories are entered into the pet supplement space and the human supplement space with as good alternatives to the wild Alaskan salmon. Meaning that what I'm trying to say is that I hope that this imbalance will change, and the demand for wild Alaskan salmon will decline. It will be more stable, and other categories will go in there and substitute the space where fraudulent wild Alaskan salmon oil products were sold.
Very good. Can you use the same test method on algae oil?
Yes, correct. Same methodology, basically.
Very good. A question just came in. Is NMR testing methods effective with blended wild Alaskan species, or is it only effective for single origin?
No, as you all know, the wild Alaskan salmon oil category is per se a blended category. There are some really niche players offering sockeye salmon as a supplement. Definitely, we can build this as we want, and how we have built our reference database is we have built it in a way that's commercially relevant. So we can I would say easily in cramps separate the sockeye samples we have in our reference database and establish that as a reference. And we can like isolate the pink and the chum and all the species that represents the wild Alaskan category. That we could do that if there is a commercial need for it, but how we have built our general wild Alaskan salmon oil reference is mixing in all the species, basically because most of the oils coming out of the facilities in Alaska are per definition blended already. But I want to add to that. You might think this is a very pragmatic way to see this and to build a reference, but be aware that all the wild Alaskan salmon oils, like this mixed category in our reference, it's far away from farmed salmon, for instance. It's far away from pollock. It's far away from sardine. So still, we are very confident that this is some sort of wild Alaskan salmon oil blend.
Does the database include reference for small fish like anchovies?
Definitely. That's the most important fishery in the omega-3 space. So that is a very strong category in our database. We have anchovies from the South Pacific, Peru, north of Chile. We have anchovies from the Mediterranean Sea, from other places in the world. So that is and there we have separated geographic origins. So that is a strong category.
Excellent. On behalf of NASC, I'd love to thank you all for joining us today and for your participation in today's webinar. A big thank you to Svein, Erik, and Spencer and the Orivo team for sharing this presentation with us. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.